All right, this is the Money Down Pod. That is my guy, Sean White. I am Kayvon Izami. You can follow Sean at Dumpster Fire Fan on Twitter. You can follow the show at Money Down Pod, myself at Kayvon_sports. This is our top 20 big board edition, Sean, of the NFL draft coming up on Thursday here. Sean is going to give his top 20. I'm going to give my top 20. We'll go 5 and 5 down the list, and we'll kind of see where we compare, where we contrast, and see kind of what sticks out as we are now days away from the NFL draft. So, Sean, we'll get started here in a minute, man, but how's everything going with you?
Going well. I'm actually going back to North Carolina for the week. It's going to be nice to be in the state. You're in North Carolina right now, right?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be nice being in the same state again. We'll be out there. I can't wait to get live on this draft. This draft's funny, man. It's funny because it's kind of beauty in the eye of the beholder thing. I think all these prospects are kind of really bunched together, and it's just going to come down to a team need or like whatever. So when we do this top 20, this is the big board how I laid it out. We're going to do a mock draft on Monday that I'll upload that we're going to actually go into who we think teams are going to pick. So obviously whoever I have at 1 and 2 might not go 1 and 2 here. This is just how I have a big board laid out on how I feel from watching tape, but that's just what we're going to go with. It's a weird draft, man. It's kind of weaker. It's still going to be fun though. NFL draft's always a good time.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the teams. You know, like this, I'm not, this has nothing to do with the Jags picking first or anything. This is just strictly 1 through 20 of who we love. Our favorite player to our 20th favorite player. It's just like that straight up. So yeah, you're right. The draft is the talent this year. There will be players that we look back like always and say, my goodness, like this guy's an absolute stud. It always happens, but it's not the cream of the crop, man. It's not what we've been spoiled the last couple of years with Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and then the quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Mac Jones and all these guys. We've been absolutely spoiled lately with the NFL draft. And it's not saying that these guys are going to be bad because I think there's going to be some studs in it, but there's just not spice to it, bro. There's no flair. There's not that much excitement. And a lot of it has to do with the quarterbacks, of course. That's just how it is. And I think also a lot of it has to do with the teams that are picking up there. You know, like I think a lot of the teams up at the top are boring. I don't think there's that much needs out there for these teams. So that's how it is. But we will make it fun as we always do. So Sean, you are first. Give us your top 5 on the big board.
All right, so this is going to be kind of a little spicy top 5, how I have these ranked. I mean, it's not going to be the same top 5 you see floating around out there. But again, this is my opinion, and if you want to come at me, I understand. But this is based off what I think. Number 1's going to probably shock some people. Number 1, Sauce Gardner. He's my number 1 player on the board. I think he's the best corner in the draft. He's clean. I think he's as clean of a prospect as you're going to find. Long, plays man, plays zone. He can press. He can play off. He can do everything you want from a cornerback. He'll go up and tackle. Didn't give up a single touchdown in coverage out there. And in the red zone, he's almost unbeatable when you're out there. He locks up your number 1 out there. I love Sauce Gardner. I think he's the best player in the draft. And if you're going to take him, I think he's the least bust potential of a player as well. I like Sauce Gardner at 1.
Yeah.
Number 2. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go through 5, then we'll talk.
Number 2, I have Ike Iguanu. Obviously, he's the high upside tackle in the draft. You could play him at guard. You could play him at tackle. We've talked a lot about Iguanu. Very powerful man, big. He's going to be top 3 probably on everyone's board. That's usually how that goes. Number 3, another kind of curveball out there. I actually like Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's my number 3. I think he's as solid as can be. He gives me a lot of Justin Jefferson vibes, although I think Justin Jefferson was a better prospect, even though he would went in the 20s and everything. And I probably, if we re-ranked, I know how I used to kind of get with the media. I used to let the media really affect me more, and I think Kayvon can attest to that. I was very high on Justin Jefferson in the draft, but I kind of let the media kind of push a Jerry Jeudy narrative on me a little bit. I was always CeeDee Lamb and Jefferson, but then I kind of re-ranked him to Jeudy before. That's how I feel about Wilson. I think Wilson's number 1, clear-cut number 1 receiver guy. That's how the league is moving into it. I think he can do everything inside, outside. Number 4 is Jermaine Johnson. That's a big thing, but I've been on this for a while. I think he's the best pass rusher in the draft. I think he has the best hand usage, and he can still improve on it. I think he can play several different positions. I think if you like Trayvon Walker, I think Jermaine Johnson's better and more advanced already. Walker just has the upside. And number 5, and Kayvon's going to not like this, but it's Derek Stingley. I actually think Stingley has a ton of talent. I think now that we've actually came out and seen that he was injured in that UCLA game, that they've confirmed that, I think that puts a little bit of worry I had from this year to rest. And I believe that he can get back to that 2019 form, because honestly, if he's back to that 2019 form, I like him just as good as Sauce Gardner. So I think Stingley has a chance to go top 5 in this draft, definitely top 10. And I think talent-wise, he's up there in the top 5 prospects for me. Just got to watch the injuries with him, but that's where I'm at. That's my top 5.
Yeah, that's a good top 5. I love some of your surprise ones. I mean, I can't debate Sauce at 1. I think that I personally will never put a cornerback at number 1, just because I don't think they're important. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think they're that important to put them at number 1. But we're just talking about positional, like we're just talking about straight up your favorite players at number 1. I don't know how I can debate that. Sauce is awesome. He's awesome. And like I've said 100 times on this podcast, I think he is miles apart from Stingley. So I love that. Iguanu, you'll see where I have him. Love that pick. Absolutely. Think Wilson's a little high there. I think Wilson's good, and I think the Falcons might take him at 8. But I think that when we compare him to the receivers of the last couple drafts, he can't step on a stool with him. He's not going to be Jamar Chase. He's not going to be Justin Jefferson. He'll be good, but he won't even be Jalen Waddle. He will be a lower tier from all of those guys. Jermaine Johnson is slowly becoming my favorite player in this draft. And to all your credit, you have been on him from the beginning. You are the reason why I watched more of him, and I am in love with him. I placed a bet on the Falcons to draft him at number 8 overall at plus 900 on FanDuel. There's a lot of smoke about us liking him, and I'm for it, and I think it could happen. So I'm giddy about that. And then I absolutely hate Stingley. You're too smart of a football personnel guy. You know way too much football to put him at number 5. And I have to call you out on it because it's a disgusting pick. It's a terrible pick. He's not good enough to be at number 5. If talent won football games and won these general managers' new contracts, then we would have these general managers that would never have been fired before. But talent is the very, very first part of this whole process. And the man has talent. He has absolutely nothing else. He has no heart. He has a bunch of quit in him. He quit on the last couple of seasons. I don't care if you say it's a business decision or not. And I fully believe and subscribe to this. When you take your mind out of the game, and I'm not hating on his business decision, but when you take your mind out of the game and play not to your top tier so you don't get hurt, even though he ended up getting hurt again, it's karma, man. You can't get yourself ramped back up. It's the NFL, and he might be able to. I just don't subscribe to it, and I will be the first to be on this show and eat crow if he becomes one of the best cornerbacks in the league. I think he will be a decent cornerback, but I'm just talking, and I think he'll be a starter in the NFL for sure. I'm not going to say he's like a bust and he's going to be out of the league in 3 years. I'm just talking about how high people talk about him. That's what I'm criticizing. They're talking about him way too high for me. He'll be good. He will not be great, but love the top 5 other than that.
Yeah, I understand your rebuttal there on Stingley. Just to defend that a little bit, that 2019 tape, I can't get it out of my head on that.
1 year.
That's just how it is. I know it's a 1 year thing, but I mean, if we're being real, Hutch has that 1 year. I mean, Trayvon Walker doesn't even have production hardly.
I don't like Trayvon that much.
I mean, he's going to be up there too. Really, that's kind of the difference I have on that. That's just where it is. It's a 1 year talent thing versus other things. And I'm more of a swing for the fence guy than Kayvon. Let's be honest. I'm more of a talent guy over anything, which is weird because I guess people didn't see Justin Jefferson's talent like I did when we're going back to that. That's just kind of where I see Wilson. That's why I have Wilson so high. I just slot Wilson as he's going to come in and be an immediate, 90-catch dude. I know you have Waddle higher. I think he's going to be better than Waddle. I think he can run more routes. But
I
that's
think he can run more routes too. I agree.
yeah, so that's on me. I don't think. I mean, Waddle got force fed the ball because Tua was throwing short to him. That's the only way they could break a play. But yeah, so that's why I have Wilson so high. But I understand the pushback on that. Again, I told you this is going to be a little weird of a list because it's not very clear cut. I think all of these prospects are honestly slammed together. I really think they're all very close. I don't see much separation from them, and you'll see that as we move on as well. I can't wait to hear your top 5.
Yeah, so I will say this. I'm not necessarily like I am a little pushing back on Wilson just because he's number 3, but I'm not pushing back on Wilson like I am Stingley. I think Wilson's going to be a phenomenal wide receiver in the NFL. I think he's going to be great. And like I said, I think the Falcons can fully justify taking him at number 8. That's the highest I would take him, but I think they could justify it. And I think he'll be good in that system. I'm talking about the other classes of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I don't think he's going to be that.
Oh no, he's nowhere close to Jamar. Let's be honest. I mean, that's honest truth though. Jamar Chase is like on a different.
I don't think he's close to Jefferson either.
Jefferson fell for the reasons that Wilson's kind of rising, and that's where that is. I think the league's kind of adjusted to that. Is what it is. Yeah. But Jefferson also was just a bigger dude. Like he's just bigger than Wilson. But that's where that is.
No doubt. But great top 5 there. No doubt about that. All right. My first one, and you're going to notice this and if you guys, the ones that have been following us from the start, you've probably already noticed it. Me and Sean were very similar in a lot of things that we talk sports, almost everything. The draft is different. Sean swings for the fences, and I'm much more of a steady guy. I'd rather get the pick right and move forward. And I get nervous about some of these guys that aren't proven but have high talent. You'll see it. So my number 1 guy is Iguanu. I think it's the safest pick on the board. It's safer than Hutchinson. It's safer than Neal even. It's safer than Kayvon Thibodeau. I think Iguanu is the safest pick on the board with also phenomenal upside, meanness, toughness. He's going to eat you apart, and he's going to start day 1. He's going to be great at it. Iguanu is my number 1 guy, and I've had him there for a while now, and it's like set like that. That's it. I'm not moving him again. Now, this is where it gets a little. I bumped Jermaine Johnson all the way up to number 2. He is now my number 2 guy in the thing. And a lot of people might say Kayvon's just being a prisoner of the moment. He's falling in love with what Sean said, and you're damn right I am. I am falling in love with Jermaine Johnson every single time I put on his tape. And just like I said the other day, and just like Sean said weeks ago, even months ago, and when it's all said and done, I think Jermaine Johnson is going to be the best pass rusher in this class. He hasn't even hit the surface yet in terms of his football ability. He's still young in that type. He still has so much more to learn there. And he's already a good run stopper. He's going to get better on the edge. He's going to get more moves. I absolutely love Jermaine Johnson at number 2. Here's another one that I think I'm going to get a little bit of criticism for. I have Kyle Hamilton at number 3. I love Kyle Hamilton. Again, you can't take him that high because safety, the whole positional value thing. But when we're just talking about a flat-out football player, I love Kyle Hamilton. His IQ is off the charts. He's smart. He's versatile. He's big. He's rangy. He is a locker room guy, and I think he's a hit. It just goes back to my thinking. I think he will be a starter and a safety in the NFL, barring injury. We, of course, never wish that on any player for 10 to 15 years. I think he's going to be a phenomenal NFL player, and that is why I have him at number 3. My number 4 is Sauce Gardner. Love Sauce. I think Sauce is, just like you said, he's the best cornerback in the draft. He didn't allow a touchdown. He is going to walk into the NFL day 1 and be able to go toe-to-toe with wide receivers. He'll get burnt. He'll give up touchdowns. It's the NFL. It happens. But he will be able to go into the NFL on day 1 and guard wide receivers in a legit manner, and that is what I love. And number 5 is Evan Neal. I know he's falling a little bit, but I still love him. I still love how big he is. I still think he is just a massive man-child on the line. And again, he's going to come in day 1. He's going to be able to help out. That's my number 5.
Yeah, so that top 5 is very solid right there. If you're paying attention to what we're saying here, you can see the slight difference me and Kayvon have on how we evaluate. I love the thing. Me and you are slightly different on Hamilton. I think it's the same reason why you were pushing back on Sauce Gardner at 1. It's the position thing. Yeah. And I have trouble slotting Hamilton, to be honest, because of that. Because I have some of these players that honestly I think are top 8 players in the draft that are just going to be like 10-year starters. I know that's the term that's thrown around, like how many people actually are 10-year starters. But I think they're actually like solid football players and will be for the next 5-7 years for a team and get second contracts. But they're at positions where they just don't go high. So it's hard for me to mesh that, if you understand. And I just think corner is a more pressing need than a safety like that. But Kyle Hamilton, I understand. And he'll be in my top 20, obviously. The positional value is what knocks him. Obviously, Iguanu, you can't go wrong with him, number 1. He's a flip-flop for me between him and Sauce. Again, I like Sauce at corner, and I think you can find more tackle depth sometimes, it feels like, in drafts like that. And obviously, I've been the one sounding the horn on Jermaine Johnson, so I can't fault you at all for having him too. Yeah. I think it's bad to say, but I think he's far and away the best outside pass rusher in the draft, in my opinion. And he's not going to – he might be the 4th one taken, if we're being honest. But I think he's the best out of the 4, and that'll just bear out over time. So I love the top 5. It's a solid top 5 for sure. So let's snake it around. You hit your 6 through 10 so that I'm not just bringing up new names all the time, and then I'll come in with mine after that.
Okay, so my number 6 is it's Kayvon Thibodeau. I have a little bit of pause with him because of everything you've heard, but I just want to keep in mind, and I'm not saying he's going to be Myles Garrett, but I think sometimes we overplay this nonsense about these guys being obsessed with things other than football. Like, I know he's into Bitcoin. I know he's into this whole Nike thing he has going on. Who the hell cares? Why shouldn't he be? This was the same thing with Myles Garrett. He likes dinosaurs. He's a weird dude. He's like, he doesn't love football that much. They don't have to love football. Like, I get it. It can hurt some people. It definitely can. But I just think at the end of the day, I understand he has some limitations, and I understand there's some work ethic issues. But I think he's going to get better in the NFL. I love who he is as a player. I think he's a really, really smart guy. And because of that, Kayvon Thibodeau is my number 6 guy. My number 7 is the one that is right. He's going to go before it's Aiden Hutchinson. And again, it just goes back to my thinking of, I think Aiden Hutchinson's going to be a very good player in the NFL. Will he be a great player? I don't know. But I think he's going to be a Max Crosby type of player. I think he's going to be stable. I think he's going to be a good locker room guy. And I think that at the end of the day, he will be better than some people are thinking. I don't think he's going to be a where we're going to look back and say, this guy had to go number 1. I can't believe he didn't, or it's good that he did, blah, blah, blah. I just think that he's going to be a right pick, if that makes sense. It's like, it's not that great of a pick, but it's for sure not a bad pick. It's going to be a right pick. Okay. My number 8 is Trayvon Walker. I have a little bit of issue with Walker because of how much he's skying up the board because of what he did at the combine and at the pro day and all of his metrics and stuff like that. But these are circumstances where I'm willing to take a jump at number 8. Like, it's number 8. You're not number 1. He has so much upside in him. I'm okay with putting him at number 8 because he has that upside where he can go do his thing from there. And I'm good with that. Number 9 is Charles Cross. Again, back to my mindset of stable. I think he's going to be a really good tackle in the league. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's going to be your next, whatever you want him to be for the next 10 years, as we use the expression. He will help your franchise from day 1. And then my number 10 is the first wide receiver, which is now Garrett Wilson. It wasn't to start. I'll admit, he wasn't my number 1 guy, but I've come around on it. I've dropped on a couple of guys. Garrett Wilson is my number 1 guy, and I now put him at number 10.
Yeah, so I love the list, and I'm going to go ahead and start listing off mine because we're actually very similar here on this.
Okay.
And I figured this was going to happen because I figured that I would probably have 2 that you didn't have, and you would probably have 2 or maybe 3 that I didn't have. And that's kind of how this laid out. So if you actually want to hear it, 6 is Thibodeau for me as well.
Oh wow, that's cool.
I think he's the second best pass rusher in the draft behind Jermaine Johnson. What you're saying is right. I don't get the whole you have to be focused on football, the whole thing, but it is kind of almost like a job interview where you want to go in and act like you're the perfect employee.
Yeah.
And if he said all this after the draft, it really wouldn't have mattered.
I agree.
The other thing is when you compare him to Myles Garrett on that, Myles Garrett was just so far ahead of everybody that it's like that couldn't ding him. I mean, Myles Garrett was essentially Thibodeau off the field with Trayvon Walker's body and Hutchinson's production. Like he was just the guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, if Will Anderson came out tomorrow and it's like, I love dinosaurs and this and that, Will Anderson's still going number one as long as it's not a quarterback next year. He'll be the first non-quarterback taken. So that's kind of where that is on that. It's just Thibodeau just doesn't quite have the physicality in his lower legs and the bend that some of these other players have. So number 7 is the guy that probably everyone thinks I hate on or something, even though the Jags might end up drafting him, and that's Hutchinson. And I can't fault Hutchinson. Again, Hutchinson has a very low floor. He's gonna come in and be what he is. He's gonna be either Matt Crosby or Trey Henderson. He's going to be one of those. And he's going to produce sacks. And that's solid. And you'd be like, I want that for sure. And I understand. But those guys went in the 4th, 5th round. You know, that's where they went. And it's all good, but he's going to be the number 1, number 2 pick. And it's just a little weird draft thing to see on that. He's my 3rd pass rusher just because I think he's a little Johnny Tryhard, and that's how he gets his production. But you can't fault him for that, really. I mean, that's still a plus. Yeah. So he's my number 7 player. Number 8's Evan Neal. I think he's got a little bit of slow feet than what I'd seen at first, but he's still very solid. He's going to play right tackle, left tackle, guard. You could put him anywhere except for center. He's a good player, solid, plug and play. I love that about a tackle, and he's very solid there. So I understand having him in your top 10 and being a top 7, 8 pick. Number 9 is Trayvon Walker, so we were 1 off on that, so that's where that comes. And I figured that'd be how it is. Trayvon Walker is just all upside. He could be Myles Garrett if he freaking develops a hands and pass rush moves, because that's what his body is, and that's where that's coming from. The thing that I have him at 9 that I'm not as concerned about is if he does bust on the edge, you can just put him at 3 tech, and I think he'd be solid. So I don't think he's going to completely bust out of the league. He just might not be that elite outside pass rusher that some people are going to try to make him be. And number 10 is going to be fucking controversial, so just get ready for this. But he's my biggest riser that I've seen. He's my number 2 receiver is George Pickens. I love Pickens.
Oh, my God.
I think he's one of the best players in the draft. And I've gone out on limbs on this and everything. I loved Hopkins coming out. I thought he was a top 10 player. I've loved all these receivers. I love Pickens' tape. I think he's going to be a true number 1.
Real quick, the difference on you loving Hopkins, you loving Jefferson, you loving those guys, you didn't hate them at first. What did you hated Pickens? So this is a big turnaround. It's not like you hated one. It's honestly to the point of like me turning around on Stingley. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't say you didn't hate Pickens as bad as I hate Stingley. But, like, this is a big turnaround, bro.
So this is what happened. I got my hate for Pickens over, like, the first 2-3 years he was at Georgia because he got so much hype. Like, he was hyped up as, like, a top 5 receiver in the draft. Like,
now what you're hyping him up as.
Yes, and he was getting all that love, but I just didn't see it. And the reason I didn't see it was because I was watching Georgia's offense. And honestly, if you watch our college football shows, I just hate Georgia's offense. Yeah. I just hate the offense as a whole. So when I finally isolated in on actually watching him and just do his job, he's an elite run blocker. And I know that's not what you want to mention first, but I'm just going down the list. He's an elite run blocker. He goes up for 50-50 balls and catches them. Back shoulders he catches every time. His route running is actually a plus. He's not the best, but he's actually a plus route runner. He actually has more speed than I thought he did, and you could see it on tape. And, God, he was playing with some terrible quarterback play, and it really docked him.
So let me ask you this then.
Okay.
Because everything you just said right there, I think of Drake London.
And I came around on him a little bit.
Okay. So that's what because all terrible quarterback, awful offense, 50-50 ball guy, good route runner. Now, he's not as fast as Pickens. I think Pickens is faster than Drake London. Would you agree with that?
I agree, and that's why I have him over, and I believe Pickens can play on the outside better than London can.
Okay.
And that's what it is. So this is the theme I have on this. This is a good receiver draft, but it's weaker than the last few. You've said it a couple times, and it's true. I think if there's two number ones in the draft, it's Wilson and Pickens. I think they're the two true have a shot to be number ones. You can really throw Christian Watson out there, but do you really trust developing North Dakota State guy? You'd really have to put development in there. I think these two guys can come in, and if you get them in the right situation, you're going to make them number one receivers. I love Pickens like that. I think it has the upside. I really do think it's honestly it's a combination. Let's be honest. He's got some character concerns. He did the whole water bottle thing on people. He got into the fight at Georgia Tech. I mean, you hear rumors about off the field, but I'm not going to speculate stuff I can't confirm, so I'm not going to say that. But that's where GMs will look at stuff like that, and he'll drop. He's probably going second round. I'm well aware of this. But if you're just basing it off film, he's my second receiver, and honestly, I've never made that big of a turnaround on a player, and I can't wait to see where he goes. Because if he goes somewhere that somebody's going to throw him the ball consistently, I think he's going to be super solid. He's going to shock a lot of people.
I mean, I like the bold prediction like that. I love it. I just it's shocking. That's all. My Drake London is my number 2. So I mean, like that's my second guy right there that I think can be a number 1. Okay, was that your top 10 right there?
Yeah, no, I was going to flip it to 11 if you're ready.
Yep, go.
Well, 11 is Ojabo, which is my number 3 receiver.
Yep.
And I think he's he's your perfect deep ball player. The reason why he's below Pickens for me, again, is I think Pickens can be a true number 1, where I think Ojabo would have to be a number 1 in that Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle mode where you feed him the ball in certain situations. I don't think on every team he's a number 1 receiver, if you know what I mean. Yeah. It has to come down to the quarterback he's with more so. And that's why he's there.
Like if he goes to the Chiefs, he's going to be a number 1.
Yeah, if he goes to the Chiefs, he's solid. If he goes to the Bills, Josh Allen would feed him the ball, even though Diggs is already there. It's stuff like that. Yeah. But if you're bringing like a lot of the rumors of the Jets, I don't love Zach Wilson throwing to Ojabo. If I'm being honest, I love Zach Wilson throwing to a bigger target. So that's kind of where that falls. I just think he's more of a scheme fit, specific player, but the speed is game breaking. I think the knee is going to be fine. That's why I moved him up. He had dropped a little bit. I honestly think he's going to go top 15 now. So that's where I have him. 12's Hamilton. That's just because of positional value. Top 5, 10 talent for sure, but the position there. And he just ran a little slow at the pro day. And I don't know why that bothers me so much because on film he's good, but it just confounds me when stuff like that don't make sense because he looks so much faster on film, and that's what matters. But again, the positional value is safety. Everyone finds him in the 3rd and 4th round. Nobody gets paid anymore. I mean, Honey Badger's still out there looking for a job, so that's kind of where that is. Number 13 is Devin Lloyd. I actually think he's the best linebacker in the class. He's the cleanest, but he's got a little age issue. I like him up there. He's a stat stuffer. I think if Bill Belichick gets his hands on him, he's going to be the next Patriots linebacker, and everybody's going to be like, how'd that happen? And number 14 is Charles Cross. You already mentioned him. Solid in pass pro. Got to work on the run game a little bit just because of just a strength thing. He'll be fine in the NFL once he gets there. And number 15 is the route technician. It's Olave. I think he's going to be solid no matter what. And I think the only real way he becomes a 1 receiver is kind of how Ojabo is if he goes to like an Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert pinpoint type. I think that's where he fits best. But again, this receiving group is down a little bit from the last few years. Still solid, still a lot in the top 20, but I have Olave there at 15.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, the only point that I really disagree with hard on you with is Devin Lloyd. I think Nakobe Dean's the best linebacker in this class, and I think Nakobe Dean is going to be the next Patriots linebacker for the next 15 years that's going to dominate. So when I say that, I don't want to say it as in like diminish Lloyd because I actually really like Lloyd too. Like I like them both. I think they're both really good linebackers that I'm impressed with. But I think Dean is my number 1 linebacker in the class, at least. That's my only difference there. Okay, so for mine. My number, this is 11, right?
11, yes.
Is Drake London. So that's my number 11. My number 10 was Garrett Wilson. My number 11 is Drake London. We've already talked about him. Really like him. I think he goes 10 to the Jets, but I really like what I've seen. My number 12 is Nakobe Dean. Again, a lot of people think that's super high. I can't get over that. I think he is going to be, I think he's one of the most safest picks in this draft with hella upside. Like, I think he's going to be, there's no chance he busts. There's no chance. I think he's going to be a really good linebacker, and he could be a great linebacker if he goes to the team like the Patriots. He was the captain of one of the best defenses we've ever seen. That defense, Nakobe Dean was the middle of the heartbeat of that defense. He was in every single play. I love Dean. My number, that was what? 11, 12, 13. 13 is the route guy, Chris Olave. I really like Chris Olave. I think that if Washington doesn't take Kyle Hamilton, I think he's going to Washington, and I think it will be really intriguing there because they got Terry McLaurin if they pay him and all that stuff, and it's kind of similar players. But I think Chris Olave could be good for Wentz. I like Chris Olave. Like, I like that idea there. I like Chris Olave. This group is receivers. J-Mo is the next one. Like you said, everything about him. The injury sucks, but I think that he is going to be a weapon in the NFL, especially who's right. And then 15 is going to be, I think, maybe a shock for some. This is a guy that I've been watching over the last couple of weeks that I am really starting to get high on, and it's Daxton Hill. It's the safety out of Michigan.
Hill can play.
Yeah.
Daxton Hill good.
Really, dude, I thought about putting him in my top 10 even, but because I put Hamilton so high, I didn't want to be that guy to put two safeties in the top 10. So literally just because of that, I put it down. Dude, he since his combine, he's impressing scouts. You see it the way they're talking about him. He ran, I think I have it here, a 4.38 40 time in Indy, which is one of the fastest for safeties in years. And he's a versatile play. You can play him at safety. You can put him in the corner. I think you put him in like the nickel. Like, there's so many different ways that you can move this guy around. He's a versatile player. He is a positionless player in the defensive back area that I'm starting to fall in love with.
Yeah, he's a bigger honey badger and Winfield to me. Like, yes. You move him everywhere. Yeah, I like Dax Hill a lot. Again, that's the safety thing. If we were doing a top 25, he'd be in the next group of 5 for me for sure. I understand you having him there. I love Dax Hill too. He's gonna be super solid. So your group right there, you mentioned Dean. He's actually my number 16. So I was just gonna throw that there before you finish yours off. He's my number 16. Understand what you're saying. I just have Lloyd on the edge because of the size, and I'm telling you, I know you're big on Dean, and he's going to be a good player, and he's a solid pick. He's going to fall out of the first. I'm telling you, he's falling out of the first. It's going to be crazy to see.
Wild.
And it's going to be crazy on draft night, and it's going to be great live. Everyone needs to tune in to see Kayvon's reaction to this.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's falling out of the first.
That's wild to me.
I will actually be more shocked if he goes in the first than if he doesn't. Like,
really?
And I think it's stupid. I agree with you. I think it's stupid. But I just think that's how the NFL sees him. I think they'll take Lloyd and Quay Walker over him, both. And I don't have Quay Walker in my top 20.
No, Quay Walker's not my top 20 either. Hell no. I just don't. Yeah, that's wow, that's crazy to me. All right, so am I up now?
Yeah, you're 16 through 20.
Okay, so my number 16 is Devin Lloyd. Like I said, really like Devin Lloyd. Not far off.
We have him flipped.
Yeah, we have him flipped. Well, I had Nakobe Dean all the way up at 11.
Oh yeah, well we're right there. Like we're
right. Wait, yeah, I think it was like just like that. So I think the linebacker position super important. In today's NFL, if you're able to play it the way like I think these two guys can play it, I like them a lot. My next one is Tyler Lindenbaum. Again, someone that Sean probably thinks is going to fall out of the first round maybe at this point.
I think he's late first into the second. I'm telling you.
I get it, and this is why. It's a center. It's not a sexy position. And really, if you go down and look at the picks 1 through 20, none of them need centers. But he is a Jason Kelce. He's a smaller center, but he can get his hands under you. And he is going to be a guy that is going to be the cornerstone of an offensive lineman for years to come, and people are going to look back and say, how the hell did this guy go 28? How the hell did this guy go 33 if Sean's lucky? How the hell did this guy go something like that? They're going to look back and see that shit, and it's going to be like, how did that happen? And he's too damn good to fall as far as he's going to fall, but I get it. He's a sinner. It happens. It's whatever, but Lindenbaum for me is that guy. The next one's Jordan Davis, the big defensive tackle. I just think that he's going to be a run stopper. I think he's going to be great up the middle. I think he has kind of a Grady Jarrett type vibe to him. I think that he'll be a good player. I like Jordan Davis. I don't love him. And I was kind of picking hairs here to decide who I wanted to put in my top 20 towards the end, but I put Jordan Davis here. And I think that he could go to the Ravens possibly. I think he could go to the Chargers, even though they filled that in free agency. And then the next one is Trevor Penning. I like the offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa. That's someone else I think that could go to the Ravens. He destroyed edge rushes at the FCS level, and I get it. It's the FCS level, but he was consistent in both the run and the pass game. He was like a rugged type dude, kind of like a big dude, and I really like what I see from him on tape. Now, I get the thing to me that's always, is this my number 25?
20.
Or 20? This is my last pick?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is someone that I've come around on, okay? And I'm putting him in 20 just because I want to mention him here. It's David Ojabo.
Oh, you came around on Ojabo far.
I did. And this is why, man. I started to watch Ojabo after the injury because I kind of just felt bad for him, man. So I started to watch him. I started to read a little bit about him. I didn't realize that he started playing football just a couple years ago.
Yeah, he started late. Michigan does that. Like the guy that went to the Colts from Michigan last year, he was the same way.
I had no idea that he started. And so I started to look at him and I said, this guy already has some pretty good raw talent. And he doesn't even know how to play football. He just started to play. So I thought if he can get his hands on a good franchise, which he's going to because he's going to fall. Maybe he goes to one of the bad franchises up at the top. I don't know. But in the second round, but he's going to fall. And there's something I can't get out of my head. The fact that he's a raw talent that could end up being like a second round just boomster because he got hurt and all that stuff. So I thought because of that, I'm going to put him in my top 20 at the last spot just to kind of mention that.
Yeah, he has the Chiefs or Packers second first round pick written all over him. Like straight up. Like that's kind of where it is. And honestly, I liked Ojabo a ton before the injury. Still like him now. If you watch it, I know everybody says I hate on Hutchinson all the time. He's beating Hutchinson back there a lot of times too. Like, let's be honest. But everybody's gonna say Hutchinson was doubled. I know we'll get to the whole conversation with it. But I like that solid 20 on that. You had Jordan Davis in there. Where you're gonna see we're very similar on this too. Again, you guys kind of how we do it. I just knew it was gonna be different orders. I knew I'd have a few and you'd have a few. So finishing off, I told you Dean was gonna be 16. 17 is actually Lindenbaum. I think you said it was 17 or right there. So, yeah, 17 is Lindenbaum for me as well. Solid player. If he falls to 33, I understand the Jags jumping on him immediately. That'd be so good. I could see him maybe going back half of the first. But, again, it's the size concerns and the center just being devalued. But he's going to be so solid. He's one of the better players in the draft. Number 18, I actually do have Drake London, which I didn't think – I don't know if I had him in my top 20 originally. But I've kind of came around on him a little bit. Just because I stopped thinking of him as Mike Evans and Mike Williams and all, and I more so put Pickens to that X receiver, I started thinking about what Drake London does good, which is the big slot type, and outside he'd be more of a Michael Pittman, really, if you put him out there, where he's solid outside, but I don't know if he's a true X, but I think he's definitely a big slot that is going to be a Keenan Allen type, a Michael Thomas type that just eats you alive on slants constantly and is just constantly open underneath and over the middle. Solid player. I've came around on him a lot. He's probably the one I've came around second most of. I mean, I've liked Pickens more from the start, but like over time I came around on Pickens. This has been a shorter time I've came around on Drake London. Number 19, I also have Jordan Davis. I just don't know what to do with him, man. Like, he's going to be a two-gap stopper no matter what. Like, he'll be a run defender. but I just don't know if he can make the pass rush moves, and that's
Yeah.
what concerns me. And then number 20, I just went with a good football player, even though the positional value isn't there, and it's Brees Hall. I mean, he's probably the best running
Ooh,
back.
I
I like
like
him
that.
a lot. I think there's a very, very good opportunity and chance he goes to the Bills in the
I like
first.
that. I like that
I
pick.
think if any team takes a running back, it's going to be the Bills. I think they would have took ETN last year had the Jags not taken him right before. And I think they've just been on the lookout for a first round back, but the ones they really like keep getting snapped up. And I don't see anyone snapping up a running back before them this year. I like Brees Hall a lot. I think he's a top 20 talent. But again, you just don't really take running backs unless they're absolutely transcendent now. And really, the next group we have is what? I mean, Bijan Robinson maybe, but really it's that next year with Trayvon Henderson from Ohio State and Braylon Allen from Wisconsin that you got to be on the lookout for before you see a running back in the top 15 again. That's probably how long we're waiting for that to happen, just because of how the position's been devalued. But yeah, that's the top 20 for me right there. It's going to be an interesting draft.
It's a good one. I like Brees Hall right there at number 20. Yeah, that's a good one. We had a ton of similarities there. A couple differences at the top, obviously, but that was a really, really good. Let us know your thoughts at Money Down Pod on Twitter. Comment here on YouTube. We will always respond. And again, remember, join us on the live show. It will be all reactions to live picks. We're not going to be doing anything ahead of time of reading out some spoiler alerts or anything like that. We will be reacting live to it. A lot of emotion, a lot of fun. Join us for that. And also tune into the NBA pod as we react to the first round and everything going on. A lot of good stuff coming out on that one as well. We will see you next week. Like, subscribe, do all that great stuff. Thank you very much and have a good rest of your week.